Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. This has been highly requested from you guys. So I am sharing our DVC purchase review as well as a cost comparison and just some general information about purchasing DVC because I've gotten a lot of questions. I will have everything timestamped in the description box below, or you can check out the chapters below the screen here, and so you can check that out and be able to jump to the parts that interest you or answers the question you're looking for the most. Dean and I have wanted to purchase DVC for a very long time, and for years we just didn't even look into it because we thought, oh, that's just too expensive, we can never afford that, it's just something only like super rich people can afford or whatever, and so we just didn't even look into it. And so we stayed blind to the fact that we could have afforded this a long time ago, but we just didn't. So definitely start doing your research. I will have some videos and info linked below that you can check out that are amazing for getting you started on this. So definitely dive into those once you're finished with this video and get to know DVC a little bit more. For us, we wish we would have bought so many years ago. This year, Dean and I will be married for 10 years. We honeymooned at Disney 10 years ago. If we would have known that we could have bought in and so much cheaper than today's prices, then, oh my goodness, you guys, we totally would have. When we purchased our resale contract for Saratoga Springs, we paid what the Grand Floridian cost when it came available back in 2014. So that, if that tells you like price increases and how things shift, stuff moves a lot. Everything is flowing with this, and so prices can be higher and lower and just things shift. So it's a lot of math to it all, but needless to say, if we would have bought in then, we would have saved so much money, and we would have, for us, we did take out a loan on our contract. We didn't have the cash to pay for everything up front, and so we did do that. We financed, but we could have had it paid off because you usually do about an 8 to 10 year loan with a DVC contract, and we would have had it paid for by now. So as they say, hindsight is 20/20. Now, a lot of people will ask me, is it worth it for DVC? Now, if you enjoy going to Disney and you're like us, you go every year, sometimes a couple of times a year, then it could definitely be worth it for you and your family. It does afford you the opportunity to kind of pay things over time, or if you buy it all at once, then you've already paid for it and it's just already paid for, depending on your financial situation. So there's a lot to consider, but it can be worth it. And I'm going to jump into some of the numbers of the math that I've run. That way you guys can know and be able to potentially save and see some cost comparisons. All right, you guys, I have my notebook here and I've scooted over so I can pop things up on the screen here for you guys to be able to look at as I'm doing this math. So I am no mathematician, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a pro math person. So this is my simple math and what worked for us and the equations. I know there are so many ways people do DVC math and if it's worth it and all this stuff and get really in depth. This is just my simple way of doing it. That's my little disclaimer for any Disney nerds that are out there that are watching this, that they're like, oh my gosh, you're doing this wrong. Well, everybody has a lot of different ways. This is just my way. Here we go. So for us personally, we stayed a lot prior to buying DVC and realizing you could rent DVC points. We stayed a lot at the Pop Century Resort. That was us. We stayed value category more times than not. We stayed at Saratoga on our honeymoon because it was our honeymoon and everything, but as far as other trips, we stayed very few times in a moderate level, never stayed deluxe traditional level. We've never stayed in a regular deluxe other than deluxe DVC. We always stayed value for the vast majority of the time. And so pricing out a vacation, if we were looking at this June to go on a trip for 6 nights, 7 days, this is including parking and tax and everything, all the fees that go into just your Disney Resort hotel. We're not talking tickets. All of that stuff is extra, dining's extra, all that, just resort hotel. It would cost us a lovely $1,506.38. tax and all. Now that is not with any discounts included, but discounts can be very hard to find. They're hit or miss. You may or may not find one. It may or may not work for your travel dates. So it may or may not work for your room category. So I'm just leaving all of that out and doing simple math, but that's how much it would cost us if we were to stay there. Now, we personally bought in at Saratoga. We stayed there first. We love Saratoga. With the current point chart, you would need 86 points for those nights. Now, if you do the math and you purchase, say, a 100-point contract on the resale market. We also get this question a lot. Where did we purchase our DVC contract from? We purchased through DVC Resale Market. Now, this is not sponsored in any way. This is just after doing some research on various companies that are out there. This is the one that we liked and felt comfortable with, that also had a good contract that was the right price for us and the right amount of points and things to get us started. So that being said, the average price for a 100-point contract at Saratoga Springs Resort is $14,199. Now, this is including any closing costs, fees, things like that. Now, this is not if you do finance, because obviously that math varies greatly between me and you and everybody else, because when it comes to that, there's different interest rates, but that's the price if you pay cash for it. So that gets you 100 points every year. Now, with this contract, it has 32 years remaining on it when someone sold it. So that's the math that we're going to base this off of. If you divide that purchase price of $14,000 by 32 years, you are looking at a lovely price of $443.72 per year for 32 years. Now, that's, you've bought in, prices are not going to increase on that, where Pop Century prices may get more expensive as the years goes on, which they most certainly have. It is definitely raised in the last 10 years that we've been going to Disney. So that purchase price gets you locked in at that rate. Now, you're probably wondering if there are any fees or dues or anything like that that are on top of this price, because that seems really too good to be true. And unfortunately it is. If only we could pay that per year to go to Disney. That would be amazing. But when you add in the dues, which at the current rate here in 2022 come to a total for 100 points of $733. Now you add that to the $443 there that you are paying per year, and that brings your grand total for your Disney resort for the year to $1,176.72. So that is a little bit higher, but there again, you're still saving a few $100s every year on your Disney vacation. So that does bring it up a little closer to that $1,500 that you would be spending at Pop Century, but your price for the most part, other than the fluctuation of the prices of the dues, your contract itself is already paid for. And so when it comes to that, you are saving a few hundred there compared to staying at Pop Century, as well as you are staying now in the deluxe category, which at the time I'm filming this video does give you some extra perks there in the parks, like extended evening hours, things like that. Before we jump into the next math scenario, I wanted to let you guys know that have never really dug into DVC very much. There is a difference between buying resale and buying direct. When you buy a direct contract, you do get more perks than you do if you buy resale. You save a lot of money buying resale, but you do get a few other perks buying direct. You do get an annual pass discount. You also get a dining discount as well as a merchandise discount. Now keep in mind, some of these discounts you can get very similar if you purchase your own annual pass straight out. You do have to do some math of, is the savings I'm going to get each year on my annual pass equivalent to me paying more for my contract to save that money, and kind of doing a little math that way. You have to factor in, am I going enough? If you're only going for this 6 nights, 7 days, and that's all you go to Disney, then an annual pass isn't going to save you money. It's going to cost you extra money instead of just buying your standard tickets. As far as merchandise discounts, you can sign up for the Disney Chase credit card, and I will have a link to that in the description box below, so you guys can check that out. We personally have one, but that saves you around 10% usually on average at a lot of the table service restaurants there at Disney, which is similar to what your DVC discount would be. So you don't have to buy direct to get that discount as well. Now, when it comes to merchandise, you do also get a discount on that when you're using your Disney Chase card, and that will usually run, or at the time right now, it's getting you 10% off of a $50 or more purchase. purchase. So you do save some money there. It's not hard to spend $50 in a Disney gift shop, so you will automatically apply for that discount, and so it can save you some money without having to buy direct. So lots of pros and cons of buying direct versus not, but just have to run the numbers and see what's best for you and your budget and your family. Okay, this next math scenario is based more on if you are a moderate category family, and that's the type of accommodations you stay in mostly as a family. Our personal pick for the moderate category is Port Orleans French Quarter, and so if we were to stay there again for that 6 nights, 7 days in June this year, it would cost us $1,865.25 tax and all. Now with this comparison, I am going to use a direct sale contract from Disney, and that contract would come from the Riviera Resort. It is the current Disney World resort that is for sale for DVC purchase, and so with that one, to get the perks and benefits from buying direct, you would need to purchase a 150 point contract. So we're gonna have a few more points than we actually need for this cost comparison, but it gets you those extra perks. And so if you're going to buy direct, you kind of want to get that benefit, I feel like. So here is a nice comparison. For that Riviera contract of 150 points directly from Disney, now this is again not counting if you are financing this is just paying cash, but it will cost you $31,876.09. Now that is for a 50-year contract. This is a new resort, so you will get 50 years of magic when buying your contract directly through Disney at this new resort. So if you take and divide that out by the 50 years, you would pay for your contract each year $638. Now I've rounded for easy math, but that is what you would pay each month if you kept your contract for 50 years there at that resort. Now, when you add in the dues, that is a factor that we have to keep in mind there. Once you add those in, that takes your price per year to $1,895. Now, as you can see, that's very, very similar, and actually it's slightly more than what you would pay currently for staying at the French Quarter Resort as a moderate level. But you do pay that extra $30 a year to have those discounts and benefits that you can have from there. It is a little bit greater as far as your merchandise discount. You do get your 10% with your Disney Visa, or you can do, right now it's currently 20% for DVC, and there's no purchase minimum. So if you rock up and you want to buy a $20 Mickey t-shirt, if you can find a $20 Mickey t-shirt, if you find one, then you can get 20% off of that one purchase. You don't have to have that $50 minimum to receive the discount. And so lots of things to think about like that, but that is kind of looking at some of the numbers. If we were to take that French Quarter price and say, go back to our Saratoga contract from the previous one and compare that price, then you're looking at a savings of almost $700 per year that you go to Disney. So all of this varies, and so lots of math to do, but you can kind of compare and see what a resale contract would cost you versus a direct contract. A lot of times for most families, I feel like you're going to come out money ahead if you purchase a resale contract versus a direct contract. But there again, that is a decision that you and your family have to make, and what's best for you and your finances and personal situation. Now, these are my personal tips and recommendations for purchasing DVC. Now, when you are thinking of purchasing and you're like, yeah, we're gonna do this, I think we're gonna purchase, when you're looking at it, don't look at just the price of the contract and see, hey, this Vero Beach resort contract is selling for $100 a point versus if I bought at Saratoga Springs, which is the least expensive at Disney World, I would pay about $130. So I can save that extra $30 and buy a cheaper contract. Here's where you may not want to do that. When it comes to buying DVC, you want to buy where you would like to stay. Even though you can use your Disney Vacation Club points at any of the Disney Vacation Club resorts, it is getting increasingly difficult to use those because of this reason. At the resort you purchase at, your home resort, you have what's called an 11-month booking window. So you have 11 months in advance that you can book your Disney resort. Now, when it comes to using your points at other Disney resorts, you only have a 7-month booking window. So say in our position, we own at Saratoga Springs, but we decide we want to stay at a monorail resort. We want to stay at the Grand Floridian or the Polynesian. those owners at the Grand Floridian and Polynesian have 4 months of an advantage on us of booking things up. So it can be a little more difficult to reserve resorts like that when someone has a home court advantage, so to speak, of that extra 4 months. And especially with more popular resorts like monorail resorts or say Boardwalk and Beach Club, places like that, it can get really difficult to get those very coveted resorts without owning there. So all that to say, if you want to stay at the Contemporary Resort and be able to walk to Magic Kingdom every time you go to Disney, and that's the main place you will want to stay, most of the time you want to stay at the Contemporary. You might try something every once in a while. I get that. I love switching it up. I want to stay at all the Disney resorts. It's a bucket list. But if the most of the time you want to stay there, buy there. You will save yourself so much headache and so much stress of trying to be like, okay, I've got to be right on at the time that the booking window opens, at that 7 months, at the right time, and I've got to get on, and I've got to hustle, and I've got to have my internet browser, and it has got to be super fast, and like, you got to go through all that stress of trying to get that at that 7-month window. So just know, buy where you want to stay. Now, when it comes to how many points you should buy, I highly recommend looking at the different types of rooms they have and the different categories. They have usually studios that typically sleep 4 people, sometimes 5, and then you've got your 1 bedrooms that sleep between 4, 5 people there, and then you've got your 2 bedrooms and then your 3 bedroom grand villas. So depending on how many people you have in your family will dictate how many points you need. Now, if you are, say, a young couple like we would have been purchasing back in 2012, then we might have looked and been like, oh, well, we could just purchase enough points for a studio. We would be fine. But once you start adding kiddos to the mix and your family is growing, or say you always travel with grandma and grandpa and they are all the time going with you to Disney, it's just your big family vacation that you take every year, then you may need a 1 bedroom or even 2 bedroom villa depending on the size of your family. So kind of have a few extra points maybe planned. That way you can know that you're covered as your family grows and you're not stuck with that or having to try to find a new contract and add on more points and figure all that out later, because Disney Vacation Club has gotten more and more expensive as time has gone on. At the current rate right now, points are selling for about $207 per point. When a lot of people bought in, I saw someone the other day in a group I'm in on Facebook say that they bought in for $60 a point. When I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to have bought in at $60 a point. Like, can you imagine that? That's literally little less than half of what we paid, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the world? That would have been great. All that to say, Disney Vacation Club gets increasingly expensive and prices per point get increasingly expensive. So go ahead, plan for the future, plan for those babies. If you're like, I want babies, I'm gonna have babies, things like that, we're gonna have a family one day as a couple or something, then plan on that. Or if you're currently a family of 4 and you know you're like, okay, we're not done, we want more kids or whatever, or you want to have that option that as they get older that they can bring their friends with them to Disney, things like that, keep that in mind and just make that decision when you're deciding how many points you should buy. Now, as far as a mini review of our resale purchase from the DVC resale market, we had nothing but a lovely experience. All of the people that we interacted with there, I want to call them cast members because it's a Disney thing, but I think they're just like employees or whatever, but we'll call them cast members because they are creating magic and we're buying Disney stuff from them. But all of the cast members there were absolutely lovely that we spoke with and talked to and emailed back and forth with. They were extremely helpful. Any questions that we had, they were very prompt to answer those and take good care of us. And so we really, really enjoyed our process with purchasing through them and couldn't recommend them enough. As far as even when we made the purchase, they were very good to give us timelines and estimates of like, this is typically how long this takes, because when you are buying resale, it takes a little bit longer than if you were to buy direct, because it does go through what's called a right of first refusal from Disney. And so they have the option to actually buy back the contract. And so you've got to make it through that stressful period of, is Disney going to buy the contract back, or are we going to get it? Are they going to be okay with selling this to us? So lots of like stuff goes into all that, but they are amazing for stepping you through the entire process, way more than I can even get into in this video. And so they are fantastic. So I highly recommend recommend them if you are in the market for a resale contract for your DVC purchase that you're looking into. So I think that's answered all the questions that I've gotten about our DVC purchase and is it worth it, and some math and like how did you make it work and all that kind of stuff. So I hope that did. If it didn't and you have more questions, leave them in the comment section below and I will try to get to those as quickly as I can. As well as if you enjoyed the video and you learned something about DVC that you didn't know, then go ahead, hit the thumbs up button down below, as well as click the red subscribe button, join our internet fam. I'm all the time sharing tips, tricks, and hacks to traveling to Disney World with your baby or toddler and family. So hit the subscribe button, join our Disney family here on YouTube, and we would love to have you guys. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, you guys. Have a great day.